Hello. Thank you everybody for coming. So we are here for the ICIP fiscal year 28 through 32. And we have already looked over our capital outlay. And from our previous, we agree that our capital outlay is where we want it to be rank wise. If you would like to look back over that, you're welcome to do so. Right now, we're going to look at our ICIP fiscal year 28, and we're wanting to look at like the top 10 to 15 and make sure that we like where those are ranked at. I would say that our ranking looks really good where we are right now. As to our priorities, looking at our comprehensive plan, looking at where our city is going right now. And we did change, per Mr. Merrick, looking at the transfer station and the animal control van. So we swapped those. The animal control van was number 3 and the transfer station was number 5. So I did change those. Does anybody else have any suggestions or questions? Also, was everybody able to look through everything?
I was, and I want to apologize because I did some research and it was talking about the capital outlay and the ICIP matching, especially in the top ranked projects. And if they needed to be worded the same, they needed to be identified as the same project so that you show a priority on those 5 items, because that's what they're going to look at whenever they go to award the money, is that if your capital outlay and your ICIP match, then you're likely more likely to pick up some of that. And if they're separated, that, but it also stated that any of those top 5 projects needed to be shovel ready. They needed to be ready to go once they got awarded. And if you weren't ready for it, then you basically not going to get it.
Yes, sir. And then the money would be clawed back. And the way that they find that out is within the questionnaires that they send you out. They send out whenever you are awarded capital outlay, then they send out some questionnaires and they ask, is it shovel ready? How is it shovel ready? Do you have quotes? You know, that type of thing. Do you have design already if it is construction? And so they do double check and they want you to obligate your funding within a first certain amount of time. You are correct on that.
But you're saying the verbiage was different, Elgin? Is that what I understood that you're?
It just needed a match to where it didn't look like it was a different project. So if you were saying in one line, a wastewater dump trailer or something, and then capital outlay, it called it a refuse trailer or something like that, looked like 2 different items, but you might have been asking for the same thing.
Okay.
So
But it's not necessarily that way. You're just reiterating it needs to be the
it
same.
just needs to be worded the same as what it was saying, but um,
So our number 1 in capital outlay is an animal control ban and facility renovation. And an ICIP, number 5 is animal control van and facility renovation. So we are trying to stay with that, like what you are saying. Yes, sir.
the
And in the scope of work as well. We bring the scope of work of the animal control van and facility renovation in the capital outlay. We bring that scope of work over into our ICIP to make sure that it is the same verbiage.
but also in capital outlay, we're showing a truck with lift gate and um, Thompson pump, and you have to go down to 9 to get to that on the ICIP.
So you're disliking the ranking
Well,
of ICIP as opposed to the ranking of capital outlay?
I'm just saying, that's why I was apologizing earlier, because our last meeting when we were talking about it, I wasn't understanding why these needed to match up. I thought they were two completely separate things. If you were going to ask for capital outlay funding of certain equipment, and then ICIP of something uh, that was more relevant to that, that they didn't have to match. But whenever I did some research on it, it said you're more likely to get it funded if they match, if your top five match on both. So
Okay.
So are you are you liking the ICIP list or the capital outlay list? If we're to match it. I apologize, I wasn't here the last meeting. Sounds like it was me and you on, I thought there was more people involved with the group, so if I didn't. If I
there is,
missed, I wouldn't apologize about.
There is, we're just missing a couple of
Yeah.
people.
yeah. The ICIP, I think is uh, just in my view, closer to what our needs are.
Okay. So is there,
I mean, your master drainage plan, your 18th Street improvements, your transfer station,
I don't disagree at all.
wastewater reuse park improvements, and
Mm.
animal van and facility renovations.
So is there a problem to more or less copy the ICIP and change the capital outlay to match it, at least the top five, or do you see a problem with that or
We
any
can do that.
suggestions? Okay.
We can do that. Whenever you look at the ICIP, the asks are, the top five are higher than our capital outlay asks. As opposed to our ICIP top five, those are more phased instead of a one and done. Does that
And that's,
make sense?
and that goes along with, Mr. Minton, didn't you kind of explain that, earlier that basically what Ms. McVeigh is saying that, we need to, it didn't have to be the same, that the multi-year plan, the ICIP. Is there a problem or any suggestion on your part on what?
So in a perfect world, the two would line up, right? But capital outlay, and so we, we're defining a strategy to improve our odds to maximize the awards from capital outlay, which are a legislative New Mexico unique process based on different funding sources, i.e. natural gas and oil. Other states don't have that type of thing. So this is fairly unique, and I'm going somewhere with this. And capital outlay in the legislative process is a funding mechanism for projects. Infrastructure capital improvement plan is not a funding. It's a target list of things that we prioritize if we could be afforded, if we could be given funding from somebody. These are the order top ranking things we like to have them accomplish. The trap a little bit, I mean, in a perfect world, they would be aligned, and that would say like animal control van is the thing I need the most in this city. I don't necessarily argue that point, to tell you the truth. But it's a fairly low threshold number. It's not that expensive in the grand scheme of things compared to other things like transfer station, et cetera. So there's a certain element of like, I don't know if you're going to call it risk or game of chance or gamesmanship. How do we represent the higher cost items that are so high in cost, but still necessary that they exceed the recommended threshold for capital outlay, but still maximize our opportunities for capital outlay without pushing things like the transfer station, which is a very expensive item, down so low that it's misrepresented. It looks like we don't want it. We want both. So we have to try to find that sweet spot on there. Now, most of the things on capital outlay, we're talking two different things, right? Capital outlay, as we understand it, that's a funded mechanism that you're asking for stuff. ICIP will never make money. It's a list. People with money will look at the list and say, how bad do you need these things, et cetera. And it helps you get those grants, awards, loans, things like that. So to your question on what I was saying, is we have to decide on both our approach to getting them done. And I hope I don't sound confusing. If I put in there the criteria for capital outlay that we put out at the city level, city hall, was what was my thing, under 1 million or under 500,000? I don't know. Anybody?
For capital outlay or under 500,000.
Okay, so we're targeting items or groups of items 500,000 and below, but not so low, because if they get below 150,
100,000.
100,000, then they come off the list too.
Mm-hmm.
So the capital outlay sweet spot, with the most of the legislative capital outlay awards seem to be between 150,000 to a little over 500,000. That seems to be the majority of it. Now, that being said, if we put those things and we align them perfectly, so our top 5 to secure capital outlay, which is a funding mechanism, and we put those on the ICIP, the optic is anything under that, we don't see it as important. But that's not necessarily true, because our threshold is things over 500K go on ICIP, and we see grants, loans, and things like that to get it. But the ICIP itself is not a funding mechanism. I'm gonna keep saying that. So we're doing two things here. Back to the perfect world, if they align, that would be cool. But in some cases, I don't recommend that they align. Because some things are just gonna be outside the threshold for that year's capital outlay. Now, keep in mind, ICIP, Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, never goes away. It's a 5-year rolling document. It covers capital projects for 5 years. Legislative capital outlay is a year to year to year to year plan, 12 months. But the things that you request on capital outlay, extremely highly recommended that they're on ICIP. So you got to address that, and so on and so forth. So from a tactical or strategic standpoint in City Hall, what we are trying to do, it does seem like, well, wouldn't we want a transfer station more than we'd want an animal control building? Well, yeah, I would. But I'm trying to maximize this year's opportunity for the capital outlay between $100,000 and $500,000 threshold. Does that make sense? But the optic can come across as, well, you don't want the transfer station as much as you want the van. Yes, I do. I want it more. But I can't get the transfer station most likely. I mean, I can get some. But we already have $1.2 million for a transfer station. We know that. That's in the money in the bank. It's in the federal bank. It's going to be hard to get to. It's going to take a lot of hoops to be jumped through.
But a lot of that's for the planning and engineer, all that stuff to even get started. So
Yes, yes, there's quite a bit of that there, you know.
Yes.
And those types of projects that exceed 500K, they need to be on on ICIP for sure, on there. So that's kind of where we are. I think I'm starting to double talk myself now, but ideally the things would line up. But because of the strategic approach and the legislative year to year to year New Mexico capital outlay plan, I don't necessarily align my train of thinking that they have to line up. Does that make sense?
does to me, are you good with that, Eldon, or?
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from. The other thing is on multi-phased projects like the transfer station.
Yeah.
It also mentioned that you need to keep that at the forefront and keep your funding going so that you don't drop the ball, so to speak. So
Got it. Yeah. Now there's another wing of this that I want everybody to take into consideration. This is a 3-part approach. We have to look at this, and I don't think the city, including myself, to this point, point a couple days ago, was looking at it like this. These things have to be looked at holistically, and from largest to smallest. Largest is the city's comprehensive plan. Now, towards the end of the comprehensive plan, it talks about how we're getting to the things that are, the last 5 pages comprehensive plan, or how we're getting to things in the first 155 pages of the plan. And it talks about ongoing projects, it talks about short-term projects, it talks about intermediate-term projects, it talks about long-term projects. So what I was telling Ms. McVeigh was if a project is going to be outside of 5 years to complete, it has to be, depending on how long we think it's gonna be, it has to be either in the intermediate term project in the comprehensive plan or the long-term project, and then replicated in the infrastructure capital improvement plan as a longer term, but only the things in the inner term. The things have to nest. It's like those Russian dolls, right? The big one and the little next one is inside there, then the last little one would be capital outlay. But they all have to represent each other, like the umbrella or whatever in there. And I hope that didn't add confusion to it. But the comprehensive plan has from 0 to 1 year is like ongoing or short term, or 0 to 5 years ongoing and short term. Then 5 years, 10 years is intermediate, 10 years and beyond is long term. But all of those conceptual things have to be represented if they're within the 5-year doability window in the infrastructure capital improvement plan. And if it's something that could be funding secured in a project that we can do, like purchase a street sweeper, it's recommended to be in the capital outlay plan. So they're not disconnected from each other. They're all tied.
Yeah.
We took a deeper dive into that, rewriting the comprehensive plan, but we were very successful last year in securing, I think 6 out of 10 requests, one were partially or in full, by approaching it this way. And we were also very successful in getting, just as a static document, infrastructure capital improvement plan. That's where the $1.1 million for the transfer station came from as well. So that was not a capital outlay request per se, not through the New Mexico legislative capital outlay program. That came from a federal grant. So, this is working.
So in that, since that is a federally funded aspect of this, but you're going to go back to the state and ask for different phases, $500,000 on each one of the fiscal years here. Do they look at that and say, well, you got Fed money, go back and try to get more Fed money, and we'll just, or are they gonna tap in on that, giving you more money, even though you've got the Fed money?
Actually, I think it'll work the reverse way. I don't think they will look at it. So any project that we go forward, there's a block in there, and Joe's better trained on it than I am, but it'll say something like, have you received any kind of funding previously? And then you put yes, and you explain that kind of thing. I have no indicator that will reduce your chances of getting money for it. But on the other hand, if the federal government starts a project, they put money at it, and then you go back to the federal government and say, hey, you did phase 1, here's where we are, and you keep that going, you have exponentially higher chances of getting more federal money. Now, if we had 2 people walk in, one federal and one state, and they both had the same amount of money, but you could only have one, I will take the state. Federal money takes a long time. It's very hard. Look at South Avenue K. We're literally waiting on the federal government to come through. So I'll take federal money all day long, but given the chance, I'll take state money before federal money.
Yep.
And a lot of entities that are a lot of grantors that are giving, they want to see a project come to fruition. They want to be a part of that. That's really big. They want the bragging rights, oh, I made that happen. You'll hear them say that in a lot of their lectures that they have. We were a part of Portellis's transfer station. We helped make that happen. They love that, and they want to see that to continue. So they will continue to give because they want to be a part, but you have to show them that you are in progress. So the only way that you would normally not receive more funding is if you are not doing anything with your funding that they're giving you, and it's just too stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, you want to avoid that at all costs. But let me give you a Minton's perspective where we are right now. The most important, the longest pole in the tent right now. We did well with we did really well with capital outlay. We're postured to do better. Why? Timing. We were nowhere near last year. I mean, I wasn't here, but we were still messing around with capital outlay well into the autumn. We might have had the list, but we weren't doing much with it. What, in my opinion, is most important right now is we agree, even if it's on an imperfect list, right? We agree on a list. I personally don't think it's gonna make that much difference on the ICIP. The rank order, as long as we're in the top 10, 15, and we put our notes in them. But to maximize the time opportunity that we have to lock in our capital outlay request, to start to develop our message, to get those trifolds to the print shop. At every opportunity that we meet with our legislators, we already have a common operating picture on where we want to go with capital outlay. Let ICIP do what it does. Let it sit there and represent our needs, but let us, because it's a static document, but we are an active force. Let us take our decisions that we make in capital outlay, and we start working through legislators now, because we know what once we lock it in here, we get it in front of the city council, the governing body, we have months and months ahead of where we were last year. Every meeting that we have with our legislators, we know what we're talking about. We can put the trifold in their hand. We can sit down and talk about why. If I look at a trifold right now and someone's like, I want an animal control van, my normal self is like, who cares, animal control van? It's just another vehicle. But knowing Portales and knowing that if someone said, what are the two most heinous crimes in Portales? Now, this is my view. One is illegal dumping and two is pets running around the streets. There's more heinous crimes. I mean, we could have an axe murderer, but it's probably not likely. But I absolutely have to get illegal dumping under check, and I've got to get the packs of dogs and wild cats off the streets, because that is not normal. That is not any town in the USA. And when I come in here with a sophomore looking to explore a college and things, and I see 3 or 4 dogs running around the street, I might not like it. So the city manager wants more animal control people and wants more animal control stuff. Eradicate that problem, so when someone gets their first optic on Portales, it's not dogs running down the street. I know that's important to me. That's why when I'm talking to a legislator, they're like, really, an animal control van? Let me tell you exactly why. Because animals running the streets are not normal. Anyway, I'm kind of on a stump or a pulpit right now, but what I'm getting at is we have time on our side. Let's lock in this thing. Let's get our common operating picture, our unified voice. Let's get those trifolds on the street, and let's start talking to the legislators, and let's get 6 months ahead of where we were last year, so that we can maybe get 7 out of 10 this time. That's what's important to me right now, guys.
It's so the staff, or y'all went over this last time, everybody's good on the list, or is there any refinement to be had, or?
Staff, are you good with the list?
Sure.
Staff is good with the list.
I mean, we've been crunching it for a while. I mean, I know she's asking it because you asked.
Yep.
Somebody asked. We've been crunching this. This is what we've come up with now, So we're kind of like handing the ball off, because
Sure.
you're the committee, right? And we're asking you to do the thing. And your opinion matters, and your adjustments matter as well. And I will tell you, if someone comes in and says, the governing body doesn't think the animal control vehicle is highest priority, I think we need to put in and pick something else, and put something else in there. It matters to me because, I do want to get the dogs and stuff off the streets and back in the homes where they belong. But I'm not married to it, and I'm going to move forward. What matters to me is the time. Let me tell you what I don't want to do. I don't want to punt this down the road. Whereas, enemy or good or perfect becomes the enemy of good. I don't need a perfect list. I need an effective list. I need all the things on the list. They wouldn't be on the list if I didn't need them.
Well, and honestly, what I want to ask is if this is recommended to council and council would like to move something, I would like to know what they want in the place instead of having another multiple meetings. What would you like in the place? Not just, okay, so this, I don't agree with this one, or this one. I would like to ask, what is your solution? So that way we can keep the ball rolling and keep going. And then we have an answer, and then I can bring it back, and then we can ask for the resolution at that time.
So you're saying if we bring this to council and they want to make a change, you don't recommend amending on the spot? Or
I recommend amending on the spot if we can get it
if
done.
we can get it,
And that is
dealing with 8 voices
sure.
deliberation, and that could go on quite some time.
right. And that's why I say come with the solution of, okay, so I don't want the animal control ban. I would rather have the backhoe and forklift instead.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't want it to get there, guys.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. I've got 8 voting members, all maybe unified, maybe bifurcated, maybe having different likes or dislikes. And now I put city council on the spot to do the work that the committee could have done.
Mhm.
From the counselor to the left and counselor to the right, do they see the world the way I do? Not necessarily. And so now I put the onus on them in what I would argue is a very short duration of time to do the work that we were supposed to do. So we're doing it. But at some point, sometimes these list items, these are probably one of the most not heavy weighted shoulders, difficult tasks, but it's not an easy task. Because it's the doors open, 8 people, 15 items, 8 times 15. I don't even know what that does. I don't like to do math in public, but it's just too many variables, so I believe that we need to come up with a thing, more or less lock it in and say, this is our recommendation. Unless you're vehemently opposed, what say you? Here's the list.
And so with that, I do ask that you think about the other councilmen in your decision.
Well, and I think for the most part, that's one of the reasons you have these committees is
Yes,
to
sir.
review this, make a recommendation, and
100%.
normally the council just goes off the recommendation of the committee.
Mhm.
But that's why you wanted to get everything set in the committee. And the only other question that I had was, in some past conversations about the wastewater treatment plant, we had talked about that bar screen on the
Mhm.
lift station.
Yes.
I noticed that it's in the ICIP, but it's down at like number 24,
And there,
but it's not on the capital outlay request, which would be a piece of equipment, isn't it?
it is, but because it is part of water, the recommendation is to actually not put water items into our capital outlay, but keep them on the ICIP, because whenever we do go out for grants and or, the water trust board and whatnot, we do need to have it on the ICIP because it is important.
I just thought if it was something that was important for the station out there, unless it's a different station.
So we just ended up giving up our cap or corrective action plan. Next is putting in for that funds, we'll put in for January. It fixes the bar screen, but it fixes a lot more from the plant, so a big
Okay.
project, it's all included in the big project.
Okay.
do you have a working backhoe? Do you have a forklift? Because we helped you guys with the forklift with the lift station,
Yeah. So we got-
supplied a couple times. Yeah.
So I did go through all this on capital outlay and I took away up three that I needed them. And I really believe the way we have them right now is the way we should keep them.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
All right. I'll make a recommendation that this committee brings forth the recommendation to council to approve the capital outlay FY 2028 and the ICIP 2028. And the 5 years after that for the ICIP.
Second.
That's- We have people.
Can I gavel that and say yes?
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks for all your hard work on it. And hopefully we'll have another successful,
So we're agenda building tomorrow, and then Liliana's not here, but we'll just get this on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
For the next city council meeting, which is next Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And if you put that packet together, please, for Liliana, or will not to get submitted into,
It's penciled in for the 19th.
got it. Okay, all right, cool. Sooner's better than later, though. Wait, what day is it? Is it 19th the next one?
That's the next one.
That's sure is. Oh, gosh. So we're gonna be in June soon. All right, got it. All right. What else we have?
I believe that's everything. So thank you everybody for coming and have a good rest of your day.